It's cooking with Cuisinart. Great recipes from master chefs. Now, one of America's greatest chefs, Hubert Keller, from Fleur de Lis in San Francisco and Las Vegas, the Burger Bar in Las Vegas and St. Louis, and Sleek Steakhouse in St. Louis. And now, today's recipe.
Well, fennel is actually a very funny looking vegetable, and it's used in south of France a lot. We usually slice it up and then put a bed of it and roasting fish on it, because you really transmit lots of flavors when you roast the fish on the fennel. But today, I actually want to use it as a gratin. And of course, gratin in France, we use gratin for all kinds of vegetables in it. But today, I really want to combine potatoes and fennel and make a beautiful gratin. So I will add some bread that has been cut about a day before, so it's a little firmer and it's easier to make the breadcrumbs. Or what I do recommend also, you can stick it in the freezer and it's really nice and chilled, then you have an easier time on making those breadcrumbs. But first I put it into the bowl, close it up, and just going to grind it up. After about a minute and maybe just a couple on and offs, and then I will add the cheese and actually a little bit butter in it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to run this right now for another 30 seconds. I'm just going to take it out now. So you see it's nice and fine, and that's the consistency that I'm looking for the gratin. So next, I'm going to start to work on the cream mixture that I will be cooking the gratin in it. First, I have a garlic clove. I'm going to put that one in and just going to chop it really nice and finely, and that should take me just a few seconds. I'm going to add some salt. So I put the salt in there, and of course I have a little bit of cornstarch over here, then a little bit of pepper, and of course I will pour over the half and half. So once I have that, I'm just going to pulse that a couple of times on and off just to make a very smooth batter. Okay, so now that I have my milk mixture ready here, I have two more ingredients I want to add to it. So I have a little bit of herbe de Provence, so that definitely reminds us south of France, of course. And we have the cheese. So I'm just pouring in the Parmesan cheese, and very quickly, I'm just going to mix it up. Okay, once I have that, I have some more milk, and I will just pour that entire mixture in my container of milk. Just pour everything into the container. Okay, I will slice the potatoes now. So I have my peeled potatoes right over here, and I will take now the slicing disc. I will insert that one. All right, and then put the lid back on top. And of course, I will start on slicing up the potatoes, and you will see how easy actually that is. So just put them on top here. Okay. Now that we have that, let me just remove the potatoes. All right, so I'm going to transfer those potatoes in the bowl. There we go. Now, let me show you how to prepare the fennel. Over here, I have the fennel, as you can see. So basically, what I'm using is the fennel bulb by itself, right? So what I will do, I'm just going to cut up the top, and I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm just going to make sure I cut the brown part here off. So just a little bit, the brown edges, or when you can see there might be some veins on it, but that's basically it. So I cut it in half, and as soon as you start on working with fennel, as you can slice it, you can really smell, you know, that specialty liquor we're serving in south of France, which is pastis, and it's exactly made out of fennel. And usually drink that with a little bit of water, and it's absolutely great. So let's move that over here, and I will slice it up the same way. Okay. So it's quite unusual gratin, and it's really interesting when it comes to flavor to actually mix the potatoes and the fennel. Okay, so now we have that. Again, we're going to release the slicing disc, and I have a bowl right over here, and I will transfer now the fennel into that bowl. Okay, so now that I have the fennel ready over here, now I will start actually to build up the gratin. And in order to build it up, I use a gratin dish, and I have a little bit of butter here, and I'm just going to butter the bottom of it, and of course the edges also pretty generous. Okay, once I'm on that step, now I'm going to start on covering up with a layer of potato. And of course the potatoes, I do not wash the potatoes anymore because I really want to make sure that the starch stays inside, and the starch will also act actually as a binder. So like I said, we go with a layer of potato, and you really spread them evenly. You lay them out like that. Then I'm going to go with a layer of fennel. So basically a third of the potatoes, and then half the fennel goes down. So it's a build-up in layers, and definitely when you will eat it, you will actually feel and taste the layers between the potatoes and the fennel. So it's really very delicious. So now we're going to pour some of our mixture over it. So it's good to use a ladle, and you really want to stir it up. Each time you're doing it, you want to stir it up because the cheese sits a little bit on the bottom. And you see, I'm just going to spoon another third of the liquid over it, so we get a layer of cheese that actually we're building up inside also. So once we have that, I'm going to continue with a layer of potato. So it's actually really a lot of fun to do, and you will see when it comes to flavoring, it's an absolutely great dish to entertain, something to take over a friend's place. It works really great as a side dish, so I really encourage you on trying that gratin. And of course now we're finishing up with the liquid, and of course once you put that in the oven with the starch, of course that whole custard basically will thicken up. We also made those breadcrumbs, and that's when I'm going to be using the breadcrumbs. So again, very generously, I'm just going to build up those breadcrumbs, which we have a little bit of the Provence in it. Remember, we put a little bit butter. And then now for our last step, of course, I have some aluminum foil that I want to cover up the gratin with. Always use the shiny part against the gratin or against sticking, because that's the part who sticks the least. And of course I want to spray it a little bit with some spray over here to make sure that, like I said, it will not stick on the gratin. And now we're going to nicely cover up our gratin dish. And my gratin is basically ready now to go in the oven, at an oven at 400 degrees for about an hour and a half. After an hour and a half, I'm going to release the paper and leave it in there for another half an hour so that my bread crust really is going to build up and has a golden brown color. All right, and here actually I have the gratin. I obviously cannot think of anything better right now than the beautiful gratin, the way it smells, the creamy part of it really, and the fennel and the potatoes, all these different layerings, right? So let's see how it actually looks inside. Oh, it has that custard, you see, who binds everything. So it's really nice and creamy. So, and that gratin, just the flavor of it brings me straight back to south of France, where you can get that pretty occasionally in little bistros, and it's actually wonderful with the cheese and the potatoes and the fennel. It's an absolutely plus. You have to try it.